So the question of moral realism is whether or not there are mind-independent objective moral facts, though questions about mind independence and what constitutes mind independence or objectivity are further cans of worms. But maybe just to illustrate for our listeners an example of an anti-realist theory, moral expressivists don't take sentences like kicking cats is bad to be like the sky is blue and that they express a mind-independent fact, but rather they express an emotion like boo, kicking cats. And what I am wondering here is just what we know, sort of what would ground the truth of a statement like the sky is blue. We can look out there. Something in the world is what grounds the truth of that statement. And I'm wondering what you think grounds the truth of these moral statements.
Yeah, just as a side comment, I'm not sure that the sky is blue is the best example here because blue, that relates to our mind or at least to our visual sense. And it's perfectly possible that other creatures could see that as a different color. I am now wearing headphones maybe as a statement which is clearly true. So now that I've made the aside, what was the thrust of the question again?
The thrust of the question was what grounds the truth of moral statements.
Okay. So for me, what grounds the truth of moral statements is a kind of intuition, but an intuition of self-evidence that there are some things that are objectively bad. And so ultimately, I think it comes down, firstly, to the idea, well, let me maybe start this. There's two questions in a way. One question is, what are the values we're talking about? Are there objectively good values or bad values? And I think when we experience pleasure or happiness, we can see that is in itself a good state of affairs and a better state of affairs than if we're experiencing severe pain or agony, that's a bad state of affairs. And so that's where I would ground the question of values. Then, of course, there's a question of whose pleasure or pain, because in a sense, you might say it's obvious, most obvious when it's mine that I'm experiencing. But then I think there is another intuition or self-evident truth, and that is that if we're not looking at things just from our own personal point of view, but we are looking at things from a larger, impartial perspective, if you like, from the point of view of the universe, to use a phrase that the 19th century utilitarian Henry Sidgwick used, then I think we can see that there's nothing special about my happiness or about my pain, and that anyone else who experiences similar kinds of happiness or pains, their happiness is also a good and their pain is also a bad thing. And therefore, my ethical stance can't be egoistic. It has to be universal.